as you've probably seen through my past videos, I've already done quite a few deals as far as flips. I've done tons of wholesale deals, and now I'm actually getting to my first new development. Things weren't always this way. I wasn't always, taking deals down left and right each month. There was a time where I was fairly clueless about the entirety of real estate, how to flip a property, really just a lot of intangibles or variables that go into flipping a property I was just clueless about. So I thought it would be a very cool video to show you guys sort of like from a reflectionary or just objective point of view of how I now assess certain properties from back in the past to now, seeing what the wisdom that I've gained throughout those experiences and being able to offer now, perspectives on what I would have done differently from compared to in the past. And so we'll be starting off with my first ever flip. So when we go in, man, it's gonna smell horrendous, bro. My boy Hanson, you didn't really see him, but you gotta put the, you gotta do this to get in for real, man, it reeks. So what we plan on doing right here is that we're gonna replace the countertops with either quartz or granite. Also, we're gonna have backsplash to the back, add a little bit of decoration, and then we're gonna paint the cabinets. Not quite sure the color yet. I'm thinking like an off-white. I took this one down, I wanna say August of 2023. So we're talking a year and a half ago, roughly 14, 15, 16 months ago. And that was my first ever flip. I had no idea what I was doing. I had any idea of any contractors. I mean, man, it was like, just a completely open ship, and I'm lost at sea trying to navigate this thing. So yeah, I want to go give you guys a breakdown of that, my first ever flip, my first ever deal. And luckily we actually have documentation of that first flip and certain components of where we were at throughout the video. So this video will be kind of like a merger between me offering you guys, like I said, my current input, and also you'll get to see when I was actually in the moment, like experiencing these things. So I think it'll be a super cool, sick video that not too many people do or showcase. And so yeah, we'll start off. Like I said, I bought this property. Actually, I'll pull up the exact date. So yeah, I purchased this property on September 19th, 2023. The closing costs that I had to pay to even get into the deal totaled out at $18,855. So I bought the property for $172,000. I want to say I had an ARV of around $275,000. And why it made sense initially for me is that there's something called the 1% rule in real estate, where essentially if a property is generating, let's just say $2,000 a month in rent, which this one was, then the property could, roughly be estimated that it's worth $200,000. And so because I had got the property at $28,000 below even the 1%, and I knew that rents could be increased, I thought that this would be a really good deal and be a great flip for me to take on. Now this was a duplex, so it had two separate units. Both units were 2 bedrooms, and I want to say around like 1,000 square feet per unit. So we're looking at roughly 2,000 square feet in total. And yeah, like I said, I went into it, absolutely no idea what I was doing, but I wanted to take it on and get into, a deeper, more intricate level of real estate. And so I acquired the property, had issues before even acquiring it. So fun fact, I actually intended to wholesale this one. We could not wholesale it because the sellers found out that we had posted it on Facebook and created like this whole like hoopla off of that. And so I kind of like had to put my money where my mouth is, literally, and close on the deal instead of wholesaling it, which was my first preference. And so anyway, we go and do that. So we close on the property. I have initially already like issues with one of the tenants. So the day I close, she moves out. So we have luckily one vacant unit, and then we have another family that had been there for like 20 plus years that gave like a sob story on why they wanted to stay. And so I told them I would work with them and let them stay. So we go in, and the seller had gave me a contact of someone like a roofing job because the roof was pretty messed up. And so he gave me the contact of the roofing job or of the roofing company that he thought would be good. I called them like, hey, I need a roof replaced. Can you give me a quote? So he goes in. I mean, they finished the roof like insanely quick. I want to say like within 2 days, the roof was already completed when I called them. And so I come in and I'm like, look, man, I don't know any other subs or anyone else. Do you guys think that you could do some work on the interior? And he's like, yeah, let me take a look. So he goes in, he's like, yeah, man, I think I can do it. Let me give you a quote. And also, I severely underestimated the budget for this property. I want to say I had in total rehab maybe like 30K or something, and this property ran me at least like 45. So I went 15 over for sure, which is to be expected on your first one. You never really know because you don't know. But yeah, I went severely under budget with that. Had I, like I said, recalculated everything, I would have done it completely different. But again, that's the lesson and blessing and learning. So anyway, he goes in, he's like, yeah, man, I can give you a quote for X amount. 20,000, I think was around the quote. So yeah, man, that should work. I'm still kind of within budget, or actually that would have been top of my budget because the roof was 10K. So I'm looking already about 30K in as far as roof, and then the budget for everything else that was needed. So anyway, we go in. I think it takes maybe like 2 weeks, two and a half weeks to complete that side of the project, and then it's time to move over to the other side of the property. Well, these are, I would not recommend taking over property, especially as a flip, if you plan on having or maintaining tenants, because as soon as we go to the other side where the tenants were living, all hell broke loose. Yeah, man, we had a lot transpire over the weekend, a lot of chaos. What I have here, I'm gonna block out certain information, is a notice to vacate. And yes, this is my first notice to vacate ever, and I hate that it had to come with my first property, but I love that I learned the lesson so early on so that moving forward, I now know how to handle, things properly. Total chaos, madness, like it was insane. I want to say that first day, I'm receiving like 20 calls. Hey, this is broken. Hey, they're doing this. Hey, they're doing this. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, I'm not on the site. I can't do anything about it. Like that's the reason for you guys being there, is you're supposed to guide them on what you want to be touched, what you don't. And yeah, it just went completely downhill after that. Up to the point where I had to evict these tenants, and there's almost like a physical altercation between the husband and I because there's just so much chaos throughout that period. So fast forward about a month later, they finally move out. I can't do anything to the property. They lock the doors, change the locks. I can't do anything until they officially decide to move. So we're just sitting there. We're sitting duck. Luckily, we rent out the other side and begin to list. I want to say, well, actually, we do the work before we list the property in total. But anyway, we go in, do it, and again, there's just a lot of issues in general with the property. It was older, very low maintenance had been done. Seller was kind of old, and so I just didn't know what I was getting into. Had I got a proper inspection, this is what I would have done differently going into this deal. First off, I would have got an inspection, and you guys may be like, well, duh, why'd you not get an inspection? Again, that's one of the incentives when you get these off-market properties is no inspection. I'll pay all closing costs and I can close pretty fast. And so these are incentives that you normally do to help entice the seller to, basically take your price at pretty, below market value price and not have to deal with any of the headaches of, your normal purchase and sale. So yeah, I would have got an inspection, and that inspection would have told me every single thing, or roughly almost everything that's wrong with that property. And I would have been able to prevent most of those headaches, from the beginning. Secondly, again, because I dealt with tenants, I would have actually made clear I know this is going to sound bad, but I would have let the tenants know that my plans are to evict them, just because, again, it almost, in my experience, never works out with trying to maintain tenants, because they want to maintain the things the way that they were, and you're now someone new. And so there's almost a direct conflict between the past and the present. And, you always end up the bad guy on that side of things. And also, I would have not tried to reinvent the wheel. I went in and I thought some colors would be cool as far as the interior. Just kind of like guessing at certain things of, oh yeah, this might be cool, instead of looking at proven models and proven houses that are already sold or been rented at, with certain aesthetics and certain looks. And so one of the major feedbacks that we got when the people first came in is like, they hated the colors. They were like, man, I don't like this. This is too yellow. And the lighting made it look way more yellow than what it actually was. And so, yeah, it just was like a lot of bad feedback that we had got initially from that. And like I said, because I'd underestimated my budget, I was already going over, you know, my money, or now going in my pocket for all these expenses. And so anyway, yeah, fast forward, we're finally able to complete the second unit. We get that one rented out as well, and we're sitting on market for, oh man, I would say we sit on market for probably close to 3 months, 3 or 4 months for that property. And yeah, it was just chaotic, I would say, throughout that entire process. And I was like, man, during I was like, I'm never gonna flip again. Like, that's just out the picture. Like, this is just too chaotic. Like, if flipping is this hard, I see why people don't do it. And I was like, I was sick with wholesaling. I had already made $200,000 to $300,000 that year past in wholesaling. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna stick with wholesaling and not have to deal with any of these headaches for a flip. And so I think I end up at closing taking home, I want to say like 55 to 60K for that property. And profit, it was probably closer to like 25. This is, like I said, I went over budget. You have holding costs. You have all these other costs associated with it. So with all of the lessons that I learned through that one, all the obstacles that occurred, just everything that came across, even though it wasn't what I expected or what I'd wished for, it was all worth it in the end, because all those lessons that were learned was something that I could keep with me forever and continue to grow throughout my journey and expand, you know, my real estate ability, my gifts. And beyond that, I took this step, you know, like most people, again, you guys are looking from the outside in and you're like, man, should I do it? Should I not? But once you jump in, you know, sink or swim, you know, and I was able to, even through, like I said, the gates of hell, still swim through and get that property closed. And so the lessons that I learned and what I took with me, the experience and the wisdom outweighs totally, you know, all of the money that was gained. Because again, these are lifelong lessons that now stick with me throughout my entire journey, my real estate journey, my entire life. And again, it's room for growth and development. And so yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a kind of insights, clear depiction of what happened. Like when I said, my first flip, again, it was fun. I wouldn't take it back for anything. I don't regret anything I did. Again, like I said, it's all a learned lesson. So just the numbers overall, like I said, going in, I purchased the property for $172,000. I sold the property for $265,000. At closing, I received $55,000, and I had an expected budget of around 35 or so. And I think, like I said, I went over probably like 15K or more into my own pocket as far as budget wise. I don't know specifics on math right now of what exactly was profit. I would estimate about 25 of that was profit. And so yeah, that's the numbers for my first ever flip. Hope you guys take home with you like a lot of valuable lessons and things to improve on or do better than what I did my first ever flip. And yeah, just continue to grow. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.